So what are the neutral cards that we should definitely keep in mind? So the Baku is a card definitely we have to keep in mind. Baku will be a nice card, guys. It's definitely an insane card. Start of the game. Wow. Greymane, good card. Maybe. Yeah, this is a good card. This is a good card. This is a decent card. I don't really have too much prediction on this. Musty Horror can be really nice. Muck Hunter. Voodoo Doll will be a good card, I think. I don't know about cards like this. Divine Shield Rush. This can be decent. But it's too expensive, right? So we have a Secret Destroyer. Destroy all enemy secrets. This card is sick, guys. Deal 3 damage to the enemy hero, restore 3 to your hero. Interesting. Well, thanks all the subs after the review, guys. But thank you very much for all the people that are joining in with the subs too. This is a good card. Alright. Just a little bit idea before I start my review. So, now that we have done the whole review on all the specific cards, as far as we call it, always goes really fast, I want to do a class review and my class predictions. So I'm gonna take over every class, go over all the cards that have been revealed for these classes, and just get my first thought and what I will think will it be in the meta. So the first class we are taking a look at is the Druid. Druid has been around decently in the meta. Jace have been supporting Druid a lot too in the meta in the last year. And now we are getting a complete different direction for Druid. So we have two legendaries for the Druid, which are like way like going towards the more biggie archetype of the Druid. I have some worries about it because it's like super slow. Like the Duskfallen Aviana, for example, it is a benefit first for your opponent, and when cards have a benefit first for your opponent, it's really hard to make it work. The Splinter card can be a decent card as it has great synergy with like some cards that you can make cost 0. Just think about Arcane Tyrant, maybe Happy Ghoul, but cards like the more cards that you can like cheat in a bit, and I definitely think Arcane Tyrant is probably the best one to make it work. Then we have quite some cards that are more used towards a hand Druid archetype. For the hand Druid archetype, we have the Whispering Woods, we have like the Forest Guide at the end of the turn, both players draw a card. I'm a little worried about like how hand Druid is really gonna be, because Druid just from itself already has like a little bit of a hard time dealing with the big boys. So it doesn't have like the best single removal. Gloomslack, if your deck has only odd cards, game +2/+2, I think that is not a thing that Druid can really do. Play only odd cards. I think it's gonna be too hard for Druid to make an archetype work like that. The Druid still has Ultimate Devastation, so that will like be a little bit of the carry card maybe for Druid. Druid of the Slitch doesn't really feel like a great card. Like a 4/2 rush can be decent in like a more token based meta. Witching Hour, summon a random friendly beast that died this game can be a really decent deck where you just fit in like one or two big beasts in your like Druid deck. So this card is definitely nice. Summoning Wisp, the cost of this card is really cheap, so can be a good token card. The problem is you cannot really do too much with your Wisp, but hey, Druid has some buff cards, so that's a decent card. Draw a card, gain 1 armor for the whole is alright. Drawing is already decent always, and gaining armor a little bit comparable maybe to like the Pharaoh Witch withdrawal. So definitely a decent card if you are playing a lot of cards, and the apple is probably gonna be a little too weak. So overall the look is like, yeah, Druid is getting a little bit support here, but not necessarily to all one specific archetype, and I'm a little bit worried about the legendaries. I don't really feel Duskfall and Aviana going off easily, as it just benefits your opponent first. And this one can be decent. If the Druid is going to be work, it will definitely be again a big ramp Druid. Going for the more late game based. Yeah, this card is definitely good. Like, you can play that in a more defensive Druid. Maybe it's kind of like a shield block in that way. So this card will be decent. It's a pretty fine card. I definitely think you will play 1 or 2 big beasts, and then cards like this can be great. Not sure if the taunt will make it work. I think Druid will... I don't think Druid will be like that strong in the meta. They'll be alright as the ramp Druid, and it might be actually one of the decks that can still do a bit better against like the heavy control decks. So that's like a good thing. Ultimate Infestation is kind of the saver I feel for Rogue, because if Ultimate Infestation will not be around, I don't think Druid will be like considered even, will be really close to the bottom tier. So I would say Druid is like, I would say it's like gonna be like tier 3 if I would have to put the classes in 4 different tiers. So I don't think Druid is gonna be that strong, but maybe in the right meta you can see it some play. Next up, Hunter. So, Hunter has been already a decent archetype lately. Spell Hunter being one of the more popular Hunter archetypes, and we also have had a little bit more of the more aggressive mid-range Hunters. And Hunter is also getting quite some interesting stuff. That Hunter is always a class that is a little bit hit or miss. It's either like just at the bottom tier, or suddenly it becomes really strong and is just kinda already just there in the meta. What do we all get for the Hunter? So the first legendary, Emeris, I just don't think it will work for Hunter. Hunter just cannot run these expensive cards. There's just no... Control Hunter is just not a thing. It's just lacking too much. Yeah, it has some decent removals, but it just deals really mediocre with like mid-rangey minions. It doesn't have a hero power that supports it at all. Like, if you just look at the hero power, you're like, how do I control the early game? And there's a little bit card load lacking there too. And cards like that are 10 mana guys that have a battle cry of like not doing directly something on the board. No, double attack and help of your minions in your hand. It's just not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. This one there, I think is actually a decent card. Really strong stat line for the Shaw, 4 mana, 3/6, giving other minions rush. So now you are not gonna look in your collection that is having rush. No, you're gonna look at like minions that have really nice stat lines and suddenly gain rush, and that can be nice. So this card is just all around already good. A little bit sad it's not like a beast itself, but this card can definitely be a nice card. Talkmonger, I'm not so sure. I don't really feel it at the moment. You can play it with Elven Archer, and then you suddenly shoot a poisonous. So that's actually a great combination with it. Red Trap is, well, hey, it's a new secret, but after your opponent plays 3 cards, guys, I mean, people will play around this really well. It will be an inconsistent secret, so I don't think this will do too much. But hey, yeah, there will be, because of an additional secret just in the secret pool now, people will have to play around it a bit. Strong, pretty reasonable dragon revealed here. Just a little bit not sure if it fits on current Hunter. Wind Blaster, great card. Great card for the Hunter, the Wind Blast. Deal 4 damage to a minion, but if a minion died this turn it costs 1. Well, there are always minions dying every turn almost, so really good card. Hunter, the Death Heaven Hunter, I'm not so excited about this, even though in 3 mana 5/2 stealth can be a decent stat line for Hunter. Cool single removal here for Hunter, 4 mana, just rush into something and kill it. Can be a great way of killing a Deathwing off, or like something big, but, well, it might struggle a little bit against taunts. Dire Frenzy is something that I'm the most excited about for Hunter. It will like buff, like it will have some really great combinations where you suddenly can buff your Stone Tusk Boar. It is a 4 mana or it's a 1 mana 4/4 charge. You put 3 of them in the deck, and with like a Tolvir, you can just draw your Stone Tusk Boars again, and you just have 1 mana 4/4 charges in your deck. And the Hunting Mastiff is definitely a nice Hunter card. 2 mana 2/1, pretty solid start line. Echo Rush, really good one, I think. So the Hunter is getting some tools. The Hunter is mainly getting where I see the Hunter more shining is like early game and mid game. That is where the Hunter has to shine. Spell Hunter will still be a really good archetype, guys. That will be around. Spell Hunter is not losing much. It's losing Ketrick and Barnes and Yashuras. But that is definitely not like you could already play just more spell-oriented Hunter with To My Side, and it was already really fine. Spellstone is amazing. Like Hunter, with the wall power leveling lowering down, I think Hunter will gain. Because Hunter doesn't lose that much. And the mid-range Hunter is a little bit of an archetype that we will see how good it will be. But it definitely, I can definitely see with cards like Dire Frenzy, Hunting Mastiff, Wind Blast, and maybe the Shot to make it a little bit work. I think Hunter will be fine in this meta. As I said before, Hunter doesn't need much often to just become strong. The hero power of the Hunter is one of the strongest in the game still. I would say Hunter will be tier 2. I think Hunter will have a really nice time, especially in the early phases of an expansion. And I think you will see Hunter as, together with Paladin maybe, as some of the more active tempo-oriented classes. Next up, Mage. Mage is getting Toki as one of the legendaries, what adds a random legendary minion from the past to your hand. Getting that Dr. Boom and Mistress Challenger and also on the back in there. I mean, just fitting it into your deck, it can be nice as like an extra one, but it's definitely gonna be more of a legendary that you're just gonna like have incredibly fun with. But 6 mana 5/5 draw a card is pretty nice, so that makes definitely a difference. Archmage, whenever you draw a minion, add a copy to your hand. Incredibly legendary, guys. Super powerful mage legendary. Just if you combine this with this, and this is what you can just do at turn 4. Turn 4, you play the Archmage with the Book of Specters, and suddenly you just pay for 2 mana. You just draw 6 cards in a minion mage. Like 2 mana, draw 6. What are we talking about, guys? It's insane. It's just insane. So, yeah, that you can do that is insane. And just that basic part already can make a minion mage work, I think. This card is really strong. Compare this card to Arcane Intellect. What is 3 mana, draw 2. What is pretty good. It's pretty fine. A lot of mage decks are playing. Now we are having a 2 mana, draw 3. Discard all spells drawn. Let's say you play 8 spells in your deck. Just to have a number, or 9 spells. This card will still draw 2. 2 mana, draw 2. Pretty good. Pretty good. Back in the day, Shaman had a card that was played in every Shaman deck, and people had to, and it had even Overload for 2. So, this card is insane, guys. And you can make a minion mage. I think you can make a minion mage. And then in that minion mage, having the availability of such a draw mechanic, wow. Wow, wow. Then another card that I think is actually a really nice card too. Arcane Keysmith. Battlecry, discover a secret, put it into the battlefield. And that is what a card too. What a card that is. 4 mana 2/2. Not that insane maybe. But the Battlecry of putting something in the battlefield. And you don't have to run the secret guide. You can discover a secret. So you just get secrets given, and you put it directly in the battlefield. So it's kind of like a 1 mana 2/2, and you then pay 3 mana for a secret, and you can discover which one you want. So the one time you're like, hey, I need my counterspell because I play against a big mage or a big priest or maybe a druid that wants to play Ultimate Devastation the next turn. But hey, next game you play against a more board oriented and you pick your explosive runes. Or maybe you need value and you pick the frozen clone. Yeah, you will have the choices that might be a little bit more poor in the synergy because you can get Ice Barrier, Vaporize and you cannot get Ice Block anymore. But I think this is so nice. I mean, I think this card's very good. Bonfire Elemental can be decent if you wanna like if you can like run enough elementals. Black Cat is very good in like an odd cost, or if your deck has only odd cost minions, and maybe the Baku Mage, an odd cost mage can make work because if you upgrade the hero power of the mage at the start of the game, you start the game with a 1 mana deal 2 damage hero power, but you can also choose it on minions. So it definitely has like quite some potential in Mage, I think. Mage is one of the classes where I can see a Baku deck working. But it's a little bit hard to say yet for me. Mage has some kind of... I feel like the Curio Collector, the Cinder Drum and also the Snap Freeze are not going to be cards you will see. Vex Crow kind of is a decent card, but it kind of feels like out of the place of what is getting in the expansion for Mage a bit. So I don't know if that one is gonna really make it work. I see some potential for Mage. These 3 cards are great. It loses Ice Block. Yeah, Mage will be between tier 2 and tier 3, I think. It has some really basic elementals that you can maybe play in it, and then you have a lot of minions. The problem is a little bit what is really gonna like, how do you win the game with only minions? If you don't run like any burn. I mean, you can have like great, super high value elementals, so that's a good win. Maybe you can run Jaina and so on. So there is some. Yeah, I think Mage will be between tier 2 and tier 3. Next up, Paladin. Paladin getting Prince Liam as their 5 mana legendary card. Transforms all the 1-cost minions. So we have seen that that there is a little bit more support to running secrets now. So maybe let's first talk about these cards. We have the Bell Ring and Sentry. Well, it's kind of like a baby ultimate or a baby Mysterious Challenger of Battlecry. Put a secret from your deck into the battlefield and also having that Death Rattle. Really good card. Really good card. We have a decent lifesteal card that maybe can make work, but I'm not too excited about this one. This card ban can be okay. We have two mana Paladin spells that... Like, Rebuke can be a good meta counter. But you also have to run this card, so it might be costing you too much to run it. Sound the Bells, well, maybe as an echo card it can be alright as a buffer, because then you can like suddenly buff a lot. And if you buff it on Lifesteal or Rush, of course it gets like even better. So maybe as Sound of the Bells is like a card you will play as a one-off in some Paladin decks. But the legendaries, and that is more interesting thing. The Prince Liam, I don't think it's gonna be in legendary you're gonna play in much Paladin decks. Yes, it transforms all 1-cost cards, and there is a lot of in like the aggro Paladins that is also like playing a lot of 1-mana cards like Rightness Protector. It's not only spells, but 1-cost cards. Also Murlocs that you can then suddenly replace, but how good are random legendaries? So the problem is that legendaries or random legendaries is not always good. There are really a lot of bad legendaries too, especially in stat line. So I don't think that is gonna be too great of a thing, but hey, maybe it can make your aggro deck being a bit much better suddenly in the late game too. The Glass Knight Divine Shield, whenever you get restore health, gain Divine Shield, I think is really good. I think this card is good. I know a lot of people call this card as a bad card. I'm gonna take some little bit more bold prediction, and I'm gonna call this as a really good card. I think with the mechanic of Rush and Lifesteal support, that this card can be pretty good. So I think 4 mana 4/3 Divine Shield is already decent. Hopefully we can make this card work, because that might be an issue. But hey, there is already some decent value possible, and with weapons that can heal like True Silver Champion, you can play this card, and then you attack, and then you play True Silver, and there are some ways to get it back pretty easily. Catriel, Garrulor, Thijs, if you're holding a dragon, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. I don't see Dragon Paladin work. I mean, sure, pretty decent card. Mini bot, a little bit better. But how are you ever gonna make this work? Like, I don't see it. I don't see it. How you gonna make like Dragons and Paladin work? The weapon, not so exciting. Secret, not so great, but hey, it will definitely be. You gotta play around it a bit. So how will Paladin be? Well, you already have quite some decent Paladin archetypes. Control Paladin not as strong at the moment. OTK Paladin will rotate out, so that cannot be an archetype anymore. But Paladin has Call to Arms, and Call to Arms is still really powerful. And that will definitely push Paladin to be one of the more aggressive classes too. And I think Paladin will be strong. I think Paladin doesn't need too much at the moment. So there are some Murlocs rotating out, but might be a little bit issue for Paladin. Dude Paladin is decent. Dude Paladin doesn't get too much support. So I guess Paladin, I think Paladin will be tier 2. Paladin will definitely be there. Like, the problem is Warlock, what will, I guess, overwhelm Paladin. And that's a little bit of a meta issue for Paladin. But Paladin, I will say tier 2. Next up, Priest. So Priest is always the class that is like probably a really hard to review class. You always have to see like how Priest can, as it has so many reactive cards, how can it like fit into what other classes are gaining. Priest will definitely be a really great deck if the meta will turn a little bit more mid-rangey. But let's first take a little bit look at the class. So I love the legendaries that Priest is getting. Priest is getting, for me, some of the most exciting legendaries. Lady in White, cast Inner Fire on every minion in your deck. You can now play so many cool cards, guys, in the Priest. And you're gonna get like 4 mana 7/7s, 5 mana 8/8s, 5 mana 11/11s even, with the new Taunt card that is available. So there are some really, really amazing, like Lady in White is gonna be a card you're gonna make your deck around, and I'm pretty sure this card is gonna be like really good. Lady in White is gonna be good. It's gonna be a good card. It has to be that Priest is gonna be good, but if that Priest is gonna be decent, then Lady in White is gonna be a really nice card. It's like, if you look at the stats, it's not too much you have to pay for it, and just having an Inner Fire on every minion, I think it can be really nice. Maybe it's a little bit gonna be too slow, but I think I like it. Camellios, also really exciting legendary. And that's not just because of necessary like the power level. I just like the mechanic. Each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a card your opponent is holding. So suddenly I have this card in my hand, and during the game, I just know what my opponent's hand starts to look like. At turn 1 I see this card, at turn 2 I see another card, at turn 3 maybe I see the same card, and at turn 4 I see another card, and then we suddenly like know 3 cards in his hand, and you can start to play really well around things too. So just the snipe potential of like the Camellios is something that I'm so excited about. I wish we would have way more of these kind of cards. So I like this card a lot. If you like notice a little bit during the game what you're all gonna see, you can get a lot of advantage just of information out of this card. And just for that, and hey, your opponent is not gonna run rubbish, guys. Your opponent plays a card that he thinks are the best 30 cards together for that deck. So you're gonna always see some decent cards too, and maybe at some point when the druid has only 1 card in the hand and you know what that card is gonna be, you are the one playing the ultimate infestation. So pretty cool. The odd archetype for Priest, I'm not so sure if it's gonna make work. I mean, it has some potential. because upgrading a priest hero power healing for 4 can be great. So I can see it, and we'll see how that is gonna work. It can be okay, but it's like more of a snowbally 5-drop, and the stat line is weak, so I'm not too excited about this card. This card can maybe make some OTK priest possible work, so this card doesn't really work in whatever we see from priest here, but can be cool. And it can maybe make an archetype. Night Scale, I like that card quite a lot. It will definitely be a more priest archetype where you're gonna run a lot of like Circle of Healing and also Divine Hymn. And wow, what is this a card, guys? This card is sick. Divine Hymn is probably one of the best, or like such an insane card. Compare it to any other healing and you're like, what? 2 mana, I heal all my minions on board and I heal 6 to my face. Incredibly card. I think that Elemental has some potential. Coven Crusher maybe can fit into a Death Rattle deck. It's a better Bone Drake, I think, because it has more tempo. Squishling maybe as a good like the flexibility of this card can be nice, especially in combination of cards that need healing. And yeah, so Priest gets some space. Priest probably has to go a little bit for more newer archetypes too, though. And I'm not sure how Minion Priest is gonna be. Like, can you get like really on the board with like a Minion Priest? I have a hard time giving Priest like a good prediction. Like, Priest currently is strong, but quite some are rotating out. Like Dragon at Operative and Historian. So the Dragon Priest archetype is gonna weaken a lot. You also have like Spiteful Priest, what is still gonna be around, and that might still be like there. But you also have maybe now some newer things. Yeah, Priest shall be good. I think Priest is gonna be good. I will put Priest in, yeah, I guess tier 2. It's definitely on the, I think it's kinda, maybe it can be on the level of Paladin. Rogue! So what is Rogue all getting? Rogue is getting quite a lot of replay or like a target of your opponent's deck. So I don't really specifically like the direction of Rogue. With cards of add a random legendary, add a random card from your opponent class, add a random card from your opponent class. I'm not too excited about this whole thing. I mean, it's cool to have like a Thief Rogue, I guess, maybe, but the thing is, these kind of decks can never be like really competitive because it's so inconsistent. And I don't feel like the power of Thief Rogue, like, there's not like a sick card I'm like, wow, like, that's making Thief Rogue insane. Even the Peddler that we had around could never push it. So if I take a little bit look at all the specific cards, so yeah, like, Tess can be nice, but, and you know what Tess is gonna do? You know what, like, from cards you played from your opponent, so Tess can be nice. Face Collector, Echo, add a random legendary minion to your hand. I mean, kinda hard to make this work as an Echo, but there are combinations where you can Shadow Step it, you can bounce it back, has potential. One that I think is actually a card that is like one of the most underrated card, and I'm gonna say it's not like a mega sick card, but it's a decent card for Miracle Rogue. This card is quite nice. You deal 3 damage and you get a coin. Hey, I deal with a minion and I get a coin. Sometimes you don't even want more than that in Rogue. But maybe it will maybe need to deal 4 damage. But this is a specific card for Miracle Rogue. This weapon is pretty bad. Cursed, maybe it can make some work. Because 6 mana, 5/3. It's kinda, you can kinda see it as an Azure Drake. No, you can't. What am I talking about? You can kinda see it as an Starfall. 6 mana, clear a minion, draw a card. This card is meh. It's gonna be okay. The stat line is fine, but I don't know how many cheap echoes you can play. Pickpocket, I mean, can be good in that specific archetype. Maybe the Buccaneer can find some way in like the Kingsbane Rogue. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit having a hard time. Like the problem with this, like Rogue needs so little to become so good. Rogue is one of the archetypes that actually can beat Warlock. And no, not the Thief Rogue, but the Miracle Rogue, the Kingsbane Rogue. Like, I would say Rogue to be tier 3. But I'm like maybe thinking like, yeah, maybe it can just be like the meta counter to the Priest and the Warlocks. So that's a bit my... And I like Miracle Rogue is not losing anything, it's losing coin. Kingsbane Rogue is like maybe the archetype. So I will say Rogue is gonna be a tier 3. Shaman. So Shaman probably getting the two more together with Priest, the most exciting legendaries, at least for me. The Shudderwock and Hagata. So Shaman is the only class getting a new hero. Hagata, talked already about a lot. Really nice one. Definitely gonna make a more minion-based deck work where you then generate a lot of spells. Shudderwock, crazy card. Battle Crying with that, like, super awesome. Kind of like a Baby Yolk in that way, but more consistent. So, gonna be cool. So, the late game there for Shaman is getting some win conditions with these two, I would say. But how is gonna be, like, the early part for it? The Box Shaper, alright card, but nothing more than that. Totem Cruncher, I think is, like, too random for the Shaman at the moment. Like, I don't know why you would run this card, even though it's a fine one, but hey, you don't want to kill your totems, and don't look so evil at me. Merc Spell Eel, Thijs, if your deck is only even cost, deal 2 damage. I don't think even is going to be a thing for Shaman. You can choose your hero power, woohoo, I cannot choose my totem. And Shaman has to be the last class to put like, that will play like even cost deck. This card is good for Elemental. It's like it's just the Mark of Yasharaz of like give a minion +2/+2 is already nice, but drawing a card in an Elemental deck. Discover Battlecry is pretty decent. I don't think this Echo card is too great. Zep is one of the best cards out of the set. One of the best cards, guys. Zep. I will say that to you. And Witch Apprentice, add a Shaman card, random Shaman spell, not so great. I'm a little worried about Shaman because I don't think it has like the greatest. I think Elemental Shaman is going to be a pretty nice archetype, especially at the start of the expansion. I think these legendaries are going to make Shaman also great. So, how would I rate Shaman? I would rate it tier 3, I think. And that is because I have some hopes in the early parts for like an Elemental Shaman. And because Shaman is like really working well with tokens. I don't think Shaman is going to be like at like a higher pile level though than tier 3. I would not rate it tier 2. I think these cards are nice, but they are late game. I just still miss a little bit of the... Maybe they can be good enough. I kind of have a hard time rating like tier because like I feel like Warlock is so overwhelming everything. And that's just... But I will say Shaman tier 3. Alright guys, Warlock. So, Warlock is already like probably the best deck or best class currently. With Priest and Paladin maybe a bit. But the big difference for Warlock is where other classes losing a lot, Warlock barely loses anything. All the good cards have been coming in the last expansion. Warlock was the worst class for a long time, or one of the worst. But then Warlock started to get a lot of great healing cards. And also being one of the classes that has like the best Death Knight and like really incredible demon synergy. One of the best weapons in the game. One of the best classes to play cubes in, Dark Pack being an amazing card, and all these cards are sticking. So Warlock really still gonna be one of the, like, already from there. And also Warlock is getting even good cards, guys. Lord Godfrey, I don't even know if you're gonna play it, but wow, what a card. Like, it's just like a Deval, but then as an, with a body. And it doesn't kill itself. Really good. Like, it's probably a better removal than Twisting Nether, because it will probably always remove the full board. And I think you can definitely replace it with like a Twisting Nether, this one. I'm a little bit not sure if this is going to be ever a card. Like, I like the design of the card, but I don't know what an Echo Warlock looks like. And I have been missing, there has not been, and I think that is like, that was a smart decision from Blizzard to not like print any 1 mana Echo card. Like, the cheapest Echo cards are 2 mana. Decent lifesteal card here. If we compare it to the legendary that we have around for Warlock, this card is much better. 5 mana 4/6 lifesteal can be great. This is actually a great rush card. I am actually surprised about this card. I actually think this card is pretty good. It can destroy a friendly minion and it gains its attack and health, and it can directly attack with the extra attack and health it gains. So it's kind of like an, like the Void Terror, but then also able to directly attack. And it can be having great synergy in zoo decks, where you like eat eggs or eat smaller like minions that you kind of want to die. And it also can maybe even still work like with cubes here and there. So this is a really strong card, especially if the meta goes a little bit slower. Not too excited about the Blood Witch, don't think it will be doing much. I like this design of the Curse of the Weakness. It kind of feels like, because of it goes on until your next turn, it kind of feels like a freeze effect, because your opponent will still have this negative effect during his turn. Great to another 1 mana card here. I am really surprised this card is printed, as it can like kill your own lackey and you still discover a demon. So it also has great weapon synergy in the way of discovering a demon. I feel this card is insane. Or nah, no, not insane, but just really nice again. And the rest, the Witchwood Imp is like kind of nice for like a Zooey deck. And the other two I'm not too excited about, the Dusk and the Circle. But guys, I see like the problem for Warlock is gonna be not like how strong is it gonna be necessarily, but the problem for Warlock is gonna be, guys, I can only play 30 cards. And which 30 cards am I gonna fit in? Because Warlock is gonna be really strong. Warlock is gonna be the class the meta will have to play around. I can even see some Zooey archetypes making a little comeback, but I just think everything is gonna be about Control Warlock and Cube Warlock. Control Warlock can also still be, it depends a little bit on the meta. What archetype for Warlock will be pushed, because they both have a little bit better matchups and specific matchups. But Warlock, guys, it's gonna be, they only lose Mixers and Lazot in their current archetypes, and their decks are so strong. Like, Warlock is tier 1 and the meta will be settled around Warlock. The only decks that are gonna be a bit around, or like the decks that are gonna be around, are decks that can at least do decent against Warlock. And then you know that Warlock is really like determining the meta. Warlock tier 1. Not even, it's gonna be, I think there has not been many parts where I would say that this is like an expansion where I will put one class so ahead other classes. Because I really think Warlock is really ahead on other classes. And then Warrior as the last class. And Warrior is in a really interesting spot, because I think there are multiple archetypes for Warrior that can maybe fit in. And the first one will be the Rush Warrior. And I have big hopes for Rush Warrior. I think Rush Warrior is gonna be like a really, like, back in the day we had the Temple Warrior, what was like one of the better archetypes there at the start of the expansion. I think Rush Warrior can be a little bit the same. And yes, you're not only gonna play Rush minions, but you're gonna combine it with some other cards, some more win conditions cards like Frothing Berserker, Grommash maybe, and some more charge minions probably. And I think that's definitely going to be a thing, because there are getting some great rush cards in Warrior. We have here on 1 mana 1/2 draw a rush minion from your deck. Wow, great card. 1 mana 1/2 draw a rush card. A 4 mana 2/5 gain rush or gain +3 this turn. So another great rush card, or at least a decent. A 2 mana decent rush card, and a 3 mana really nice rush card. And also Darius. I think Darius is one of the most... Okay, another bold prediction. I know people have been a little bit like mean to Darius. I think it is a really good legendary, and maybe one of the best legendaries revealed. So I have put good hopes for Darius. I think he's a really good legendary. The weapon, a new 2 mana weapon. And guys, never underestimate 2 mana weapons. We know how Fiery Varex got called the Fiery Winx. Well, this is not like the Fiery Winx, but a 2 mana, guys. Your opponent plays a 1-drop, you can sometimes then coin the 2 mana weapon, or you play it at turn 2. Warrior has a little bit weak at turn 2, so I definitely think this is going to be just having a 2 mana weapon back for Warrior is going to be really nice. And there's also another archetype that might be working for Warrior, and that might be the Baku Warrior, or like a more oriented Warrior, Control Warrior archetype. The Baku, upgrading your hero power from the start of the game, guys. So can you imagine a Warrior archetype that starts your game with like upgrading 4 armor. Every turn you can already have your Justicar hero power. You go 4 armor. So if there is like gonna be like maybe a deck where like Baku can work, I definitely think it can be Warrior. Warrior loves that. Just to have like and Warrior can make its archetype around in hero power. The problem is like a little bit gonna be, I don't know how the Oddcast, how it will completely look the deck, as you can like there you also can like, you're probably gonna a lot of good cards you can play. But it has it definitely has like potential there. We'll see how that is gonna work. I think Warrior will be okay. The only problem I see for Warlock is I think Warrior is gonna do so poor against Warlock. I don't like Rush Warrior is gonna be so good against tempo oriented decks. And I just see a big problem for Tempo Warrior. Like, they want to face every like token deck, and then Rush is amazingly strong. But Rush is not gonna be strong against Void Lords at turn 5. And that's a little bit the problem, maybe. That I think tournament play Warrior can be good. I think constructed play Warrior is having issues. And Control Warrior a little bit the same. Like, they probably are gonna have still a little bit too big of an issue against the more Warlock archetypes. And that might be an issue for a Warrior. It's just gonna be struggling too much to Warlocks, and it's gonna be too frustrating for Warrior. What can I make for prediction? I would rate Warrior tier 2 if there was not Warlock. They're determining so meta defining. So I guess I have to put it tier 3 just because of how dominating Warlock will be on ladder. Like, I think Warrior is in tier 3 ladder deck and a tier 2 tournament deck. And that was the class prediction here, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope you had some, you are excited too for the Witchwood. Let me know what you think about it. And thank you so much for watching. See you in 2 days in the Witchwood. Short summarize. Druid. Yeah, Druid is probably one of the worst. I said tier 3, but I'm even thinking of tier 4. Hunter, I would rate tier 2. I think Hunter is going to be good. Mage, tier 3. Paladin, tier 2. I think Priest is going to be tier 2, but I don't know how Priest is going to look like. Rogue. Is Rogue rotating, losing much, Rogue? Like Kingsbane Rogue, is it losing key cards? No, right? Like if Kingsbane Rogue is gonna be, I guess tier 3. Shaman tier 3. Warlock tier 1. Warrior tier 3. If I do it in 3 tiers. Oh, Oracle. Oh, then my Rogue might be tier 4. Oh, Rogue is gonna be tier 4. So, short summary. Druid, tier 3. Hunter, tier 2. Mage, tier 3. Paladin, tier 2. Priest, tier 2. Rogue, tier 4. Shaman, tier 3. Warlock, tier 1. Warrior. I kind of want to see a tier 2, but it's just going to struggle against Warlock, so it's tier 3.